Magneto is the Maximoff twins' father. Why did the High Evolutionary turn down a peaceful life to become Marvel's biggest liar? Well, turns out Magneto might actually be the biological father of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff after all. Back in the 2014 Axis event, Scarlet Witch cast a magical bloodline spell that completely ignored Magneto. Marvel then changed the lore, declaring the twins were just regular human infants altered by a mad scientist on Mount Woodagore. This wild fan theory claims the High Evolutionary faked the entire genetic record and masked their magical signatures just to hide their real dad. So, why did so many readers scoff at this idea? Well, accepting it means believing a scientist outsmarted chaos magic and beat every mutant detecting Cerebro unit on Earth. Those machines labeled the twins as mutants for decades without a single glitch. On top of that, everyone knows real world corporate mandates forced comics to match movie rights at the time. Believing this theory means accepting that advanced science can fool a literal reality warping spell seamlessly. Does it make absolute sense inside the comic books? Well, sure. The High Evolutionary changed DNA for fun every single Tuesday. Hiding mutant genes to look like altered human traits is standard business for him. The tragic emotional bond between Magneto and his kids defined 5 decades of comic history. Magneto's protective drive caused huge events, like the House of M. Why hide their real bloodline? Fans believe the geneticist hid their true dad to stop Magneto from using reality warping kids as living weapons. That's why I genuinely think that a crazy geneticist faking DNA tests makes way more sense than every telepath in Marvel being wrong for 50 years. Guess we should always trust comic book science over basic soap opera genetics. Wolverine's healing factor erases his memories. Who knew a sharp mutant healing factor would double as a top secret brainwashing eraser? Legendary X-Men member Wolverine has suffered from severe memory loss for many long decades. Official comic files blame his amnesia on the brutal Weapon X program and endless psychological brain damage from heavy combat. However, this theory argues his biological mutation fixes psychological trauma just like physical wounds. Whenever Logan experiences endurable emotional agony, his brain regenerates tissue specifically to wipe the painful memories away. What makes people laugh at this biological concept? A body repairing cellular damage is totally different from a brain organizing personal memories. This idea assumes his mutation possesses sentient psychological judgment. How? Well, nobody knows. The mutation would need to know the difference between a happy core memory and a tragic nightmare. Other mutants with healing factors, like Sabretooth, remember every single war clearly. This mechanism turns cellular regeneration into a complex psychiatric therapy session. Can this theory actually work scientifically? Well, surprising as it sounds, extreme stress changes physical brain structures like the amygdala and hippocampus. If Logan's healing factor sees stress-induced brain changes as physical injuries, it would reset his brain back to normal. That process accidentally wipes the bad memory, causing the stress in the first place. Logan has lived over 100 years, fighting brutal wars and surviving molten metal surgeries. No regular human mind can endure that endless horror without breaking into tiny pieces. Selective amnesia acts as an evolutionary shield, keeping him alive instead of leaving him totally catatonic. At least his brain saves money on expensive therapy sessions by simply deleting his entire past. Reed Richards is intentionally holding back human technology. How does the smartest human on Earth justify keeping miraculous world-saving tech locked in his basement? Mr. Fantastic is universally known as the smartest mortal man on Earth 616. He invented unstable molecules, tapped infinite cosmic dimensions for clean energy, and cured crazy alien diseases. Yet regular comic citizens still drive gas-powered cars and suffer from basic human illnesses. This theory suggests Reed Richards intentionally hides his grand inventions, keeping them inside locked in the Baxter building, because releasing them would destroy humanity. Why do comic fans call this absolute nonsense? This shady behavior borders on supervillain logic and ruins Reed's identity as a heroic savior. By hoarding miraculous medical cures and free energy, he becomes passively responsible for millions of preventable deaths every year. What's worse, it paints him as an arrogant father figure who thinks the world's too dumb for his toys. For a character who risks his life daily, denying civilians a paradise feels completely out of character. Is there a logical reason for this hoarding? Well, Marvel's history shows that advanced technology always gets stolen by bad guys immediately. If Reed drops free energy on the world, evil groups like Hydra or AIM will reverse engineer it into weapons. Remember when Reed tried to fix the world without any limits? The Maker from the Ultimate Universe destroyed entire reality timelines in his quest for total perfection. That's why Reed keeps humanity developing at a normal pace to avoid a sudden tech apocalypse. In the end, protecting the planet by hiding super science is basically the human form of cosmic aggressive hoarding. Spidey sense is basically time travel. Can a simple spider bite accidentally unlock the deep temporal secrets of the entire multiverse? Well, Spider-Man's famous spider sense is usually described as a quick precognitive reflex warning him of immediate physical danger. This theory claims Peter Parker is constantly pulling microsecond glimpses of future timelines directly from the web of life and destiny. Instead of a simple warning, his brain flashes forward in time, experiences the hit, and snaps back to the present so he can dodge effortlessly. Why does this temporal theory sound completely ridiculous? Well, Peter Parker is traditionally a street-level science hero fighting crime in New York. Tying a basic spider bite to complex time travel feels like a massive thematic stretch. Time manipulation usually belongs to temporal conquerors like Kang, not a teenager stopping basic bank robberies. During an animal reflex into a time-traveling superpower makes a simple origin story overly complicated for no good reason. Does it fit the broader Spider-Verse mythos? Well, mystical heroes like Madame Web confirmed that spider totems connect directly to the web of life and destiny across space and time. Peter's warning buzz always happens before danger actually hits, meaning he reacts to events that haven't happened yet. But still, you might be asking, why does Venom bypass this sense? Venom's unique temporal nature hides him from the magical web entirely. This temporal foresight explains how Peter dodges light-speed laser beams without sweating. He isn't reacting to fast light, but using future messages sent backwards to dodge bullets before they even fire. Suddenly, his high school physics teacher looks completely underqualified to grade his science homework. The Punisher is possessed by a demon of war. Could a brutal vigilante actually be powered by an ancient spirit of total endless slaughter? Frank Castle is an ordinary human soldier who declared a brutal one-man war on crime after losing his family. Despite having zero superpowers, he survives giant explosions, beatings from superhumans, and endless lethal firefights. This theory claims Frank's impossible endurance isn't just human willpower. Instead, the Central Park tragedy allowed an ancient war demon to possess his soul, keeping him alive to feed on endless crime violence. Why do Punisher fans hate this idea? It completely ruins the tragic human heart of Frank's bloody crusade. The main appeal of the character is a broken man pushing past human limits through rage and tactical skill. Adding supernatural possession takes away his personal choices, turning a serious crime drama into a basic monster movie. Fans want Frank to win because he's smarter and tougher, not because a magic ghost shields his body. Is there actual proof in his comic track record? Frank fights powerhouses like Wolverine and Daredevil, surviving blows that would instantly crack a normal human skull. He recovers from deadly injuries without real doctors and never hesitates in combat. On top of that, recent comic storylines showed the ninja cult known as the Hand officially crowning him as their High Slayer. A demonic patron acting as a quiet guardian explains how a regular guy with basic guns survives in a universe full of literal gods. That's why, who needs medical insurance when an ancient war demon pays all your hospital bills with pure violence? Professor X secretly performs global memory wipes. What if the world's most peaceful psychic leader is secretly pulling off global brain wipes? Heroic mutant teams constantly save the planet from alien threats, yet regular humans always return to hating them shortly after. This theory suggests this sudden public amnesia isn't natural at all. Instead, Professor Charles Xavier uses Cerebro to periodically wipe anti-mutant hysteria from every human mind on Earth. Without these massive psychic wipes, fear would escalate into a full-scale mutant extermination by Sentinel robots. Why do readers find this concept totally horrifying? Well, brainwashing billions of innocent civilians is a massive violation of basic human rights. Xavier preaches peaceful coexistence, so invading minds to alter free will makes him look like just the evil villains he fights. This dark secret ruins his heroic legacy, turning him into a shady, mind-controlling leader running the planet from his wheelchair. It transforms a noble mentor into the scariest telepath on Earth. Does this creepy behavior match his comic history? Well, Charles routinely uses questionable telepathic tricks whenever he gets desperate. He wiped the memory of a failed X-Men team from Cyclops' mind and manipulated the secret Illuminati group for years. What's worse, scaling these mind wipes globally is easy for him when hooked up to Cerebro. The public consistently forgets superhero deeds defines basic human logic. Global psychic reset explains why human hatred resets so unnaturally all the time. Xavier simply prunes humans' minds to keep his peaceful dream alive for one more day. Nothing says true heroic inspiration like secretly reprogramming your neighbors every time they get angry. Thanos can break the fourth wall. Is it possible that Marvel's biggest comic threat keeps losing battles because he knows he's in a comic? The Mad Titan Thanos acquires godlike omnipotence, most notably when wielding the mighty Infinity Gauntlet. Yet despite holding absolute control over reality, he always leaves a silly mistake that allows superhero teams to defeat him. He drops powerful objects or leaves his body unguarded. This theory claims Thanos subconsciously understands he lives inside a fictional comic book where villains must lose. Why does this meta concept sound so silly? Breaking the fourth wall is a funny comedy trick meant for silly characters like Deadpool. Giving meta awareness to Thanos ruins the serious comic drama built by legendary writers like Jim Starlin. Reducing Galactic Conquest to a fake script cheapens the stakes for the entire Marvel universe. It turns his terrifying cosmic terror into a rehearsed play where he just acts out a pre-written defeat. How does this explain his constant failures? Well, comic hero Adam Warlock explicitly states in classic issues that Thanos subconsciously creates his own defeat because he feels unworthy of absolute victory. Taking this psychological flaw further into meta-awareness explains why a cosmic genius makes basic elementary mistakes. As the champion of death, Thanos understands balance better than anyone. He knows permanent victory ends all cosmic conflict, effectively ending the comic storyline forever. By subconsciously messing up his master plans, he keeps the universe moving forward. He willingly plays the eternal loser just to keep his own fictional reality from getting canceled. Talk about throwing a big cosmic game just to keep your day job alive. Peter Parker was bitten by a mutant spider. Ever wonder if Peter Parker's legendary spider was secretly flexing the X gene behind those tiny 8 eyes? Classic comic history says a totally normal spider wandered into a science exhibit, took a huge dose of radiation, and bit young Peter Parker before dying. This wild theory flips the entire origin story around completely. It claims the spider was an unregistered mutant arachnid carrying its own dormant X gene all along. The particle beam simply activated the hidden mutant DNA before the bite transferred a retrovirus straight into Peter's blood, triggering a human mutation. Why do comic fans hate this genetic twist? Well, tying Spider-Man to mutants completely ruins his iconic appeal as a regular everyman. The original beauty of his backstory is that the accidental bite could have happened to any random kid in that room. Pulling him into a mutant lore simply ruins the magic while dragging him into complex X-Men politics. On top of that, accepting mutant insects creates massive questions about animal evolution across Earth. Why? If bugs have mutant genes, the entire planet should be overrun by wildly overpowered mutant squirrels, completely ruining the idea that mutancy belongs to human evolution. Does the science actually hold up inside comic logic? Well, surprisingly, real radiation causes terrible cell damage or instant death rather than granting sweet spider powers. The smooth genetic fusion Peter experienced needs an advanced survival mechanism to rewrite his biology safely. The X gene is the only Marvel mechanism designed to handle sudden biological changes without killing the host. What's even wilder, his daughter Mayday Parker displays natural mutant markers in alternate timelines. That biological reality suggests the original shift was way deeper than a basic radioactive accident. Maybe Peter should stop avoiding mutant politics and start paying his official X-Men union dues already. Howard the Duck is a multiversal anchor. Who allowed a cynical talking duck to hold the entire space-time continuum together like a cheap duct tape? Howard the Duck originally hailed from Duck World before a demonic force dragged him into Earth 616. Comic writers usually treat him as a grumpy waterfowl trapped in a wild universe full of bright superheroes. However, this cosmic theory turns him into a vital load-bearing pillar for the entire multiverse. His pure absurdity balances out the dark drama of the main reality. If anyone ever erases Howard, the universe will instantly collapse under its own serious weight. What makes this cosmic idea sound like total nonsense? Howard was created by Steve Gerber as a pure joke character to mock serious comic tropes. Turning a foul-mouthed duck into a cosmic anchor on par with Galactus or the Phoenix Force feels like a huge insult to serious Marvel lore. Readers must believe the supreme cosmic architects built reality around simply a grumpy bird living in a messy Cleveland apartment. Elevating a cartoonish joke to protect reality completely ruins the high stakes of modern cosmic storylines. How can this weird theory actually explain his absurd history? Howard constantly survives apocalyptic battles without possessing any real powers. He routinely bumps into mighty beings like Doctor Strange, Franklin Richards, and Man-Thing, the official guardian of the nexus of all realities. When the multiverse completely crumbled during the massive Secret Wars event, Howard mysteriously survives the total destruction unharmed. Cosmic gods constantly ignore his presence, treating him like a weird cosmic necessity rather than an annoying mistake. The cosmic scales always demand a balance between serious drama and pure absurd comedy. Leaving Cleveland in his hands feels totally fine until you realize he doesn't even wear pants. Galactus consumed the Phoenix Force in the 6th cosmos. Did Galactus secretly swallow a fiery piece of the Phoenix Force before the old universe blew up? Before becoming the planet-devouring giant, he was Gallen of Ta, a mortal explorer who survived the cosmic collapse of the 6 cosmos by merging with the sentience of the universe. This cosmic theory suggests Gallen also absorbed a sleeping piece of the Phoenix Force during the primordial explosion. His endless hunger to swallow living planets isn't just a basic dietary need. It is actually the Phoenix inside him demanding massive planetary energy to spark the next cosmic cycle. Why do cosmic readers call this idea totally crazy? It unnecessarily links two completely separate entities into one giant tangled origin story. Galactus stands as the vital balance between eternity and death, representing necessary survival and consumption. The Phoenix Force represents raw passion, rebirth, and evolutionary fire. Combining them changes Galactus from a natural cosmic force into a simple host carrying a giant space bird. On top of that, the Phoenix has met Galactus multiple times without ever recognizing him as a former host, creating giant plot holes in cosmic history. So why does this theory make so much sense anyways? Well, both beings are completely obsessed with destruction, leading straight to universal rebirth. Galactus eats worlds, but his stored energy eventually sparks the birth of the next universe, making him a true life bringer. The Phoenix burns down old realities to allow new evolution to grow. If Galactus holds a sleeping Phoenix seed, it explains why his machines turn life force into raw cosmic energy instead of basic physical fuel. Even his heralds wield the cosmic power and using glowing cosmic fire. Turns out, his terrible cosmic hunger is just a giant space bird throwing an endless cosmic tantrum. Squirrel Girl is an avatar of narrative inevitability. What if Squirrel Girl's greatest power is simply just making the universe bend to silly jokes? Dorian Green famously beat cosmic heavyweights like Doctor Doom, Tarax the Tamer, and even the mighty Thanos. The most hilarious part is that her biggest victories always happen completely off-panel, where readers cannot see them. This theory claims her real mutation isn't just squirrel agility, but an advanced ability to control narrative probability. Whenever she fights out of sight, reality warps to guarantee a funny victory over logical power levels. Why do serious fans get so angry at this theory? Well, it breaks the fourth wall in a way that completely disrespects powerful cosmic villains. Thanos snapped half of all life out of existence, while Doctor Doom literally stole godlike powers from the Beyonders. Claiming they lost to a teenager on her fuzzy friend Tippy Toe just for cheap laughs ruins all the dramatic tension in the comic books. Meaning, this theory admits that training, power scaling, and ancient artifacts mean nothing when a silly joke enters the room. How else can anyone explain her impossible winning streak? Within normal comic rules, a girl with a furry tail cannot physically punch the Mad Titan into submission. What makes it even crazier, the Watcher named Uatu appeared on panel to confirm she beat the real Thanos instead of a fake clone. If Marvel reality functions logically, Doreen proves the universe protects itself using pure comedy. Her mutant gene probably grants a rare probability field like the Domino or Scarlet Witch, but specifically turned to deliver silly victories whenever the audience looks away. Defeating cosmic gods off-screen is definitely one way to save money on expensive battle animations. The Goblin formula is an unstable super soldier serum. Is Norman Osborn's famous Green Goblin potion actually a bad knockoff of Cap's iconic soldier serum? Norman built his massive empire at Oscorp by securing government contracts to develop biological weapons. This theory suggests he found illegal access to classified files from World War II detailing Project Rebirth. Desperate to crush his corporate rivals, Norman tried to copy Dr. Abraham Erskine's original formula. Lacking the essential stabilizing agents and vital Vita Ray radiation, his rushed concoction granted Captain America strength while completely destroying his sanity. Why do Goblin fans reject this corporate stealing theory? It cheapens Norman's evil genius, turning a brilliant scientist into a basic corporate copycat. The Green Goblin works best as Spider-Man's original nemesis, completely separate from Captain America's patriotic history. Tying his origin to Steve Rogers makes the Marvel Universe feel super small, implying every single hero comes from only one old wartime lab experiment. On top of that, Cap's formula creates physical perfection, whereas the Goblin formula warps facial features and causes intense mental breaks. Why does this concoction actually work so well? The Goblin formula gives Norman physical durability, quick reflexes, and massive strength that perfectly match Steve Rogers' physical stats. Norman's relentless push for military dominance fits the historical goal of creating super soldiers. What's worse, Dr. Erskine explicitly warned that his serum amplifies everything inside a person, turning good into great and bad into pure evil. Norman was already a ruthless, greedy industrialist before drinking the green potion. The unstable bootleg serum simply amplified his worst psychological traits, turning his hidden evil into the terrifying Green Goblin. Guess copying military homework without studying the instructions usually leads to giant green mental breakdowns. The Sentry's powers come from a reality gem. Could the mighty Sentry be hiding a literal infinity stone inside his regular human body? Robert Reynolds famously gained the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns after drinking the experimental Golden Sentry serum. He can manipulate molecules, read minds, lift massive mountains, and bring dead people back to life effortlessly. This theory claims no normal chemical potion could ever grant that level of reality-breaking omnipotence. Instead, the liquid serum unlocked a tiny piece of the reality gem hidden inside his body, giving him subconscious control over reality itself. Why do comic historians push back against this cosmic origin? Infinity gems cannot be dissolved into drinks bottles like the basic energy powder. These powerful gems are cosmic singularities that usually vaporize normal mortals on physical contact. Linking Sentry to the reality gem ruins the tragic character arc, which relies on a deeply flawed man gaining godlike power through pure human mistake. If his powers come from a gem, he stops being a tragic scientific disaster and becomes another cosmic pawn. Does this idea solve his ridiculous power levels? Well, even Molecule Man was completely shocked when Sentry manipulated matter better than him. Sentry constantly changes reality, creating the terrifying Void monster out of his own mental trauma and wiping the memories of every human on Earth. A basic lab drink can't force cosmic telepaths to forget things or break physics. The reality gem operates by changing the universe to match the user's mind. Sentry's strength changes based on his mental state. If he believes he is invincible, reality shifts to make it true. Drinking a cosmic singularity is certainly one way to avoid taking basic daily vitamin tablets. Captain America's shield feeds kinetic energy into his serum. Does Captain America's shield double as a biological battery that powers his endless physical stamina? His legendary weapon is a unique alloy of vibranium and proto-adamantium that absorbs all kinetic impacts seamlessly. This theory argues that energy cannot simply disappear into nothing. When Cap blocks a massive punch from the Hulk or Thor's hammer, the shield absorbs that violent energy. It then sends subtle microfrequencies through the leather straps into his arms, acting like a biological charger that re-energizes his super soldier body during long fights. Why do physics fans scoff at this kinetic theory? It tries to apply real-world energy laws into comic book nonsense, overly complicating an iconic shield. Captain America's weapon is traditionally treated as a miraculous metal object that ignores normal physics by stopping vibrations dead in their tracks. Claiming it sends energy back into Steve turns the basic defensive tool into a weird biological battery machine. What's worse, if the shield accidentally sent Thor's kinetic force into his nervous system, it would instantly fry his human body on the spot. How does this explain his impossible survival record? Even if the shield stops direct hits, the giant shockwaves from a Hulk punch should shatter every bone in Steve's body. He remains a peak superhuman soldier at the end of the day. If the vibranium alloy converts crazy kinetic hits into subtle biological energy, it perfectly explains how he fights for days without muscle exhaustion. The original super soldier serum already altered his body using energy, as seen with the Vita rays during his initial transformation. Recycles enemy attacks directly into endless physical stamina? That certainly gives a whole new meaning to his famous line about fighting all day long. Well, that's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers, and see you in the next one.